JT, thank you so much for joining us yet again. We appreciate when you grace us with your presence. I have a general question to kind of start you out with, and it's the idea of the television copy versus the tape, the all 22. For the person in their car that's like, yeah, you guys keep talking about tape. I saw what I saw. I watched the game. How big of a difference is it in breaking down a quarterback, the version that you see on television versus the all 22?
I mean, I just feel like that's where the real difference is as far as a deep understanding of football. I think you can watch the broadcast version and just watch the ball and come away with a simplified understanding of, hey, why we lost, what happened. We turned the ball over, we made a bonehead clock management decision, those types, we missed a kick. But if you really want to understand, the technical element of what's going on every single play, what's going on off the screen of that broadcast tight version, you got to watch the all 22 and not only watch it, but have an understanding of what the players are looking at as far as coverages, things that can make you play faster, the different techniques, what the blocks are, what the pass protection is, all those things that you just can't see. Really, not even the coaches can see. You hear coaches reference, oh, I got to watch the film. Well, you were at the game. What do you mean you got to watch the film? And it's one of those things where they don't have a wide enough lens to be able to see all those things in real time. So you got to go back, rewatch it, and then watch really every position when you're coaching it to have an understanding of what happened on that play.
Are there still some moments where if you're not sure what the intent is of the play, then you're not exactly sure what you're seeing with the all 22?
Oh, absolutely. And I try to do a decent job of hedging that. There are really only a handful of people even in the building. Like you could go ask Bears coaches and they would know what Caleb's read is on every single pass play. They don't sit around in the team staff meetings and talk about the quarterback's reads. And so if you're not in the quarterback room, if you're not the quarterback coach, assistant quarterback coach, coordinator, maybe even sometimes the head coach, depending on if you're a defensive guy or not, you're not going to know exactly what the quarterback's supposed to be doing drop wise, eyes wise, read wise, check wise for every single play. It's impossible to do that for every position.
With that in mind, then let's talk scheme before we talk Caleb. As you watched all these plays, what did you think of the passing attack that Ben Johnson allowed Caleb to function in?
I thought that it started off with a quarterback who looked like he was really, really trying to hunt completions. And I think that can be one of those things, it can be a little bit misleading because when you say, yeah, you started 9 for 9 or whatever it was, and that's great. But when you turn on the film or even the color guy, I think I was listening to the broadcast at that point, there were some opportunities down the field for some shots that we just didn't throw. So is that him not seeing it? Or is that him just being like, hey, they told me to get completions. I'm going to take the easy completion versus push the ball down the field. Only they know that. And so we can't sit here and decipher. We can say, hey, most oftentimes, if you call a big post on play action and you catch quarters, then you probably want to throw it versus this look. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen all the time. Only he knows what he sees. You got to check his vision to see, is there two big linemen in his way? But for the most part, many of these NFL plays are universally read and understood. And so you can make some general assumptions about where the ball should go on time. And it just didn't early, but he was able to kind of band-aid it with being able to create, extend, find completions. And then I think you saw things get a little bit tougher when you saw the operation at the line of a scrimmage. Now we're behind the sticks. Now we can't run it that well, and things aren't going our way, and we've got to manufacture those kind of completions, and it's a hell of a lot harder to do that.
What were the things that Brian Flores did? Because it felt like he was doing drop 7, drop 8 early, and then when they got a lead, then he started doing all the stuff that we expect Brian Flores to do. What did you see from what the defense was offering Caleb Williams?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. I think from the lens I would look at it from is if you're Ben Johnson or you're Caleb Williams coming into that game, you have to be prepared for all-out pressure early. Like zeroed up, you got to have your answers. And I thought that they looked like they had answers early. They did the center walk up really late and snap the ball really quickly, trying to catch them off guard. Well, they weren't pressuring them. So they kind of lost that battle of guessing about when the pressure was coming. And then when all of a sudden you've got to move the ball, when things feel really hard, then Brian Flores starts, dialing up all these exotic pressures, and now things look a lot more difficult. So they look like they had a plan early. They just didn't get what they were expecting. Then they had to readjust when Brian starts all of a sudden getting into his deep bag, making things a lot harder. And you've got to move the ball at the end. You feel like you've got to move first downs and things aren't going your way. Now all of a sudden the other team is moving the ball. They have all the momentum. And it just felt like things caved in on us as far as being able to execute on the perimeter versus what those exotic looks are.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's good stuff. Ben Johnson said today, I guess it was yesterday, said that he didn't react well enough and quick enough when Flores wasn't bringing pressure. To your point, JT, and I don't know exactly what that means. How should he attack when there's no pressure coming? More passes, more runs, or specific kinds of stuff? I wonder what he's thinking when he says he didn't attack the way that he should have.
Well, I mean, you really rolling the dice as a play caller because you have to have a zero answer going up against the Vikings constantly. And so when all of a sudden they're not pressuring, are you calling multiple plays in the huddle? Are you calling, hey, we're going to have this, max protect thing, and if it's not there, we're going to check to more of a traditional 6-person protection, get multiple guys out? There's lots of different ways to get to it. I don't know how you would have known that other than saying, hey, Flores slow rolled us early on. We didn't have the opportunity to kind of take advantage of those pressure looks where we're trying to trick them with kind of quick sugar huddles and slow walking the center, those types of things. And so it's just one of those things where that's kind of the nuance or the chess match of play callers. And, they got to us. When he says I should have got to more traditional, drop coverage attacking things, it's tough to say that in real time because you're looking at a sample size of 0 this year. You don't know what their tendencies are, and that's the difficulty of week 1 ball.
JT O'Sullivan of the QB School, you should check out what he's doing on Patreon. Truly, like, this guy is an asset. If you're a Bears fan, you've got to see what's going on with his channel and the meticulous way that he breaks stuff down. JT, I had a couple of issues, and again, I'm a novice. I'm someone who covered the league, but I didn't play at a high level at all. But there was one particular set of plays that bothered me, and it was when they were trying to do wide receiver screens, and it was set up that one of the plays was DJ Moore is the inside guy, and he's got to go reach the corner. And it just felt like from a design standpoint, there was a bit of a flaw. How should that work? Was that the right thing for it to look that way? And how do you make that an effective game 2 versus 1 where you can make the wide receiver screen work?
Well, I would probably push back a little bit and say that's been a pretty popular way to do that screen for the last handful of years, especially in college football. I call it the Alabama screen. I think Sarkisian used to do it when he was the play caller at Alabama that long ago. At a bunch, they would do it a lot, where it's kind of an unorthodox way to get to the bubble by throwing it from a condensed formation to the outside wide receiver. Now, the part that I had a problem with that play is that don't we throw like a grounder? We throw like a Tebow out there, goes at the guy's ankles, and you got no chance to catch the ball, okay? The other part I would say is that it's tough because, if you're DJ Moore, okay, and I think I've been as critical as most or any as far as what the film has shown over the course of the last few years with him, I just don't think that's his strength. Like, do we want him as the point guy, reach blocking an edge like that in a screen? It seems like that would be a flipped responsibility for me. Again, I'm not the guru play designer who's earned this opportunity to be that in Chicago, but it just felt like a weird ask when it comes to your personnel. And again, people were all over me early in the preseason because I'm getting frustrated by where 15 is playing and where's 2 playing and who's the split end, who's the flanker, doesn't matter. Everybody can do everything. Well, sometimes it's not positionless football. Sometimes one guy is better off the ball and a more traditional flanker movement guy. And sometimes there's a more traditional X inline, bigger, stronger guy. And so it looks like they're still trying to get a little cute with who's who in the zoo as far as what they're asking guys to do. And I would just lean into the guy's strengths early on and say, hey, let's make sure we're getting DJ more touches in space. Like what they tried to do, like you saw them get a little cute with him in the backfield, play action, running zones, those types of things, as opposed to him being the perimeter blocker for a bubble screen.
I want to get to a big picture thing on Caleb in a second, but let's stay on DJ. That play on the second to last drive where they drove down the field right after Kmet makes a great catch, and then DJ's wide open on the left side. There's been some speculation about the route, like if DJ was maybe supposed to run a different route and just saw that space and went to it, and Caleb missed him by so much. It was weird. Like, what was your thought on how that play went down?
Be honest with you, you remember, your memory is much better than mine. I've watched probably 10 games from when I watched that game, but I think I remember him throwing up his hand like a mailbox, what I consider like a mailbox. Normally, I would say wide receivers only do that when they change the route down the field. Like I think of historically like Randy Moss. Randy Moss used to throw his hand up and just start running before he even ran by a guy because he knew he's changing the route, just saying, hey, the mailbox is up, I'm open, I'm going. I kind of lean into thinking that DJ Moore did that on that play. I think that was probably supposed to be a corner or a circus route out, and he just felt like there was no one deep, so he just took it. And then you see kind of the outcome of that is a miscommunication, what looks like a really bad throw, but maybe it's DJ Moore just doing his own thing on the perimeter. Now, do they allow him to do that? If they do, that's a great job by him, and Caleb's got to adjust. Do they not allow him to do that? Well, then what the hell are you doing, bro? You screwed us, and now we're in trouble. And now it looks like we don't know what the hell we're doing as a unit. So, it's easy for you guys to go in there and ask him. I'm not sure you get the real answer, but it looked like he just took the route on his own to take it to a vertical.
Yeah, you're not the only one who thinks that. So that's worth following up on because that's a big deal in terms of perception and what we know. All right, here's my big question for JT Sullivan from the QB School. As I, a novice, watched this, yes, I'm a novice, but I'm also a guy who lived through Mitch Trubisky and covered that here. I lived through Justin Fields and covered that here. We're supposed to be smarter by now, right? Anyway, when I see Caleb the other night, I kept looking for him to hit the top of his drop and boom, release the ball. And I counted maybe 3 times he did that all night long, or 4 times he did that all night long. It just felt like everything was so late, even sometimes when it was good. And so I wondered, tell me your thought on that as a concept, JT.
Well, I mean, first of all, don't sell yourself short. You guys are diehards. I don't care if you didn't play in the league. You know exactly what you're talking about. Don't downplay it to me. And then, the other thing about it is, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say you'd love to see more hit your back foot, ball out on time within the structure of an NFL offense from Caleb. I think that's fair. I think it's also fair to say there were throws that were there on time in structure that didn't get thrown. And, as people who lived through Fields in Chicago, there were turn downs that were brutal. I don't think we're anywhere close to a brutal turn down situation. I just feel like that's where it needs to see immediate growth. I think that there were still things that are really excited about Caleb Williams, like the stuff he was able to do I don't think there's anybody in the league, I can't think of anybody in the league ever to be able to run full speed like he can sideways and throw the ball with velocity down the field. Now, that's not structured offensive play. Those are things that happen organically where he can put on the cape and do that. And you don't want to live in that world, but he can do that. And it's really special. What he needs to be able to do is play within the structure of the offense, get the ball out on time, be the point guard, and be the guy who can do those specialty plays when he has to, when he needs to, when the game's on the line late, not always just in the first quarter on the first drive, and then we don't see it for the rest of the game. So it's one of those things where it's a fine line. It's not an easy thing to do to say, hey, rein it in, know when to make those plays, know when to do that off-script stuff versus, hey, it's there on time, understand the drop, the timing, the rhythm of the pro game, and get the ball out on time. And when you get it out on time, you got to make the throws, bro. There were a number of throws that, for whatever reason, weren't on target enough, weren't precise enough from an NFL quarterback, and it's just got to get better, and it's got to get better quickly.
That part that you just brought up, JT, is the one it keeps kind of going through my mind, where you have a guy that when he looks at his own success from the time that he was 10, it was because he was the most special kid on the field. He was doing all the cool stuff and all the crazy stuff. Even at USC, that last year, more so than the year before, he's kind of out there having to make it happen because of all sorts of other circumstances. So I know that you don't necessarily know him, but knowing guys that have had that special talent, how hard is it to convince them that, no, there's going to be the opportunities for you to do the crazy stuff? How do you get them to say, all right, we're doing pure progression and that one's open. I'm just going to go get that first read instead of worrying about where we can make a touchdown.
Yeah, I think it's a delicate, daily, ongoing conversation, battle, however you want to frame it, between the coaching and Caleb. And he's got to be mature enough and in a spot understanding his own career arc to realize this is happening really fast. Like this can go sideways quickly. And the fact that you need to be able to take what you do naturally, what got you this opportunity, the reason you're number one overall, and grow and trust your coaches and understand what they're asking you to do and have really good coaching that's coachable, that puts you in situations and people around you to allow you to have that success, to have guys open. I think of the easy analogy is Jaden Daniels last year in Cliff. And when you watch Jaden Daniels film last year, the number one read, like where the ball's supposed to go, was open a lot. And that's what you'd love to see kind of ease in for this Bears offense, to say, hey, let's start scheming things that are there on time. So we start building that confidence to say, hey, this passing game has answers. We have answers at the line of scrimmage. We have answers on the perimeter. And then when it's not there, those things can come naturally to you to escape and create. And this is the part that's kind of Caleb specific. Those escape creative things can't be disasters. We can't be falling all over the place, chucking balls over the middle of the field. We've got to be able to not make a bad play a disaster and go backwards even more with holding on to the ball and taking those unrealistic, timed, creative plays, spins, runarounds, chuck a ball as we're going down, touch our knee, those types of terrible plays. You just got to eliminate those. Those have to show up once a month, not once a quarter.
Two quick things for JT Sullivan. This has been terrific. The Nashawn Wright pick six touchdown looked a lot like Deron Bland in Dallas. There's probably a reason for that, right?
Now the Fighting Al Harrises, you guys are locked in, fired up to see those guys be aggressive all year on the perimeter.
Yeah, I mean, Al Harris, he did it with Trevon Diggs, did it with Deron Bland, and like him jumping the route.
Bland got paid,
yeah,
too.
He did. Yeah, he did. Al gets guys paid. So, in the other one, what's DeAndre Swift doing when he attacks the hole or not? What's your take on him as a runner?
Oh, man, this is way out of my lane. No, I mean, the thing, I think it's a very delicate conversation coaches have with running backs. They get paid to run the ball. They're in the league because they're good at running the ball. It's one of those things where he's got to trust the unit in front of him. You've got to do everything you possibly can so he understands what the aiming point, what the timing, what those reps look like. But yeah, it can be frustrating. I'll tell you what, if I was a running back, I'd be frustrated that they put a wide receiver back there to take some of my carries too. But it'd be one of those things where those are just, it's part of the deal right now where they're trying to figure out what they are offensively, what he does great. Sure, there are opportunities where you thought, man, he might be able to lower his shoulder here and get us a little bit more. But it's one of those things. I think it's a delicate dance with running backs. They know what got them to the league. It's hard to teach them how to run. I think the easy cue that I felt like gives them the most kind of ability to have success getting their foot down and going vertical is saying run through common color. So you're just looking for your color jerseys. You're looking for any space on the majority of those gaps or downhill runs to be able to get what you can get. And then the big plays, they happen organically because you trust your footwork, you trust the path, and you trust those big guys up front.